So we also have another issue. I had to come along behind Hippocrates and give him a little support. That's doctor movement. Today we have a tremendous amount of disease from a sedentary lifestyle. So I added a new doctor. Hippocrates didn't have to worry about that. Back in his day, even doing the laundry would have been quite a good workout. I don't know if any of you remember the days of doing laundry on a scrub board. My grandmother used to do laundry on a scrub board. We had 7 people in our family, so when you're doing laundry for 7 people on a scrub board, the concept of a gym is kind of like redundant. But today we don't have this issue. Today we've got automation for automation. Everything's got a remote control on it. Practically thinks for itself. Breathing is also important, and breathing is linked to thinking. Dr. Happiness is really how you think. Your happiness is frequently your state of mental self-management and emotional self-management, and breathing is actually a mirror of these other doctors. But if you don't breathe right, then your pH balance is off, your physiology is off. Also, the way you breathe has a huge influence on the balance of your autonomic nervous system. For example, as I'll show you, today we have a tremendous problem with craniofacial growth and development disorders due to malnutrition. So when people's craniofacial structures don't grow right, the first thing that happens is they can't breathe right. So the instant that you start breathing incorrectly, it switches you into a sympathetic dominance, which means your body thinks you're under stress all the time. So we've got kids being born today who are perpetually in a fight or flight state. This is one of the reasons they're so addicted to these combat games and killer this and killer that and destruction this, destruction that, because they're constantly being kept in a state of fight or flight behavior. So these are people that grow up and they never really know how to get calm. They never really know how to hold still. The concept of meditation is very, very foreign to people like that, because people that can't breathe right have a very hard time calming their mind down, because the breathing and the mind mirror each other. So these are some very, very simple principles, but the reality of it is you can spend your life studying any one of these. You study Dr. Happiness for the rest of your life, we call you a psychologist. You study breathing for the rest of your life, we call you a yogi. You study movement for the rest of your life, you're a Chek practitioner maybe, or a personal trainer, or a dance educator. You study diet for the rest of your life, you're supposed to be a nutritionist, but have you ever gone to a nutrition conference? Right? You can't really tell whether it's a conference for water buffaloes or educated people. Because when I go to nutrition conferences, I see the sickest people in the country. So we need to reevaluate the word nutrition. And then Dr. Quiet, if you study how much time a person needs to themselves, well, that could be a psychologist, it could be a yogi, and that could be somebody who's just learned to be honest with their needs. So it's very important to remember that we all exchange energy. It's just a rule of the universe. The universe is designed on what's sometimes referred to as the love principle. Without getting into a bunch of heavy metaphysics, the love principle essentially states that we all must give and we all must receive. So we're always giving and we're always receiving, whether we want to admit it or not. So, for example, all of us has a certain level of happiness, a certain level of vitality, a certain level of well-being. The happier and healthier you are, the more energy you have. The more energy you have, the more energy you radiate. Just like the more energy you put through a light bulb, the more light it radiates. Okay? The sun is bright because it has a lot of energy. The moon isn't very bright because it doesn't have a thermonuclear power source in it like the sun does. So what you'll see is that when someone's healthy and vital, they carry a large energetic charge, which it shows up in what you know of as their aura. Okay? And good scientific research shows that whenever you get into another person's auric field, whichever one of the two people is strongest bleeds energy off to the one that's the weakest. So the overall level of vitality of each of you determines whether or not you're drawing energy from someone next to you or giving energy to them. And this is not something that you can easily stop. It would be kind of like taking two bar magnets and sitting them next to each other, putting one north pole next to the next south pole, and saying, now you two stop sharing energy here. It ain't gonna happen. And really that's what we are. We're biological magnets. The whole body's built like biomagnets. The whole body is polarized. Every living cell in the entire world is polarized, okay? So what does this mean? It means I'm talking predominantly to healthcare professionals. So this lecture is a lecture I give mostly to healthcare professionals, and I say, well, which one are you? If you're a healthcare professional or an exercise professional or a nutritionist or anything to do with health at all, it's probably ideal if you're the one that has the most energy, because that's an example of your own life. To the degree that you have energy and you can share energy, then you're living congruent with the principles of nature. Certainly you've been around people that are fun to be around. Usually people that are fun to be around, they don't drain you. And you have all had the experience of being drained by people. You say, oh, nice person, but really draining. Right? What that means is they said all the right words, but when you left them, you felt like you were energetically plucked, right? It's tiring. And that's what love is. You see, you've been loving people like that. So our goal here is to achieve a level of vitality so that we can be in society. We can be school teachers. We can be doctors. We can be therapists. We can be lawyers. We can be dentists. We can be whatever we want to be and not get to the point where we feel like we got to have a cup of coffee just to survive the day, or go home at night and crash and become antisocial when we're supposed to be going home to share ourselves with our family. But instead, most people go home and they just want to sit down, look at the television, and go dead because they're drained.